Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Professor Hall, and today we are talking about sentence fragments. So, this is the first in a series of 4 short lectures, and today we're going to look at missing subjects and missing verbs. So, what have we learned already? Where are we going? Where are we right now? What step have we reached today? Well, last time, in the last set of lectures, we looked at sentence structures and sentence variety. And now we're going to look at the first sentence flaw or grammar error, which is called a fragment. After these lessons, we're going to look at other grammar errors, including a run-on sentence and a comma splice. So our general plan for fragments is, and we've talked about this before, first we do learning. What is a fragment? How do you find the error and fix it? The first 2 lectures are about different types of fragments. Then we move to comprehension, which is a little bit different than learning. When you're learning, you're just taking in information. When you comprehend it, it means that you really understand it. So for that, we're going to examine examples of fragments in sentences and pairs of sentences. Then we're going to move to deeper comprehension with authentic materials. So looking for fragments in real life, books, websites, articles, and so forth. Then if you're in my class, you will be doing some practicing on your own with some software. Then when you do writing, you'll get feedback from me. And if you have one of these errors in your work, I'll guide you through how to find and fix it. So that's the general game plan. All right, let's get started. We're going to start with a little bit of review first, just to pick up where we left off before. The basic parts of a sentence, the subject and the verb. Every complete sentence has both a subject and a verb. The subject is the main noun, that person, place, thing, or idea doing the action or being in the state of being, and the verb is the action word or the state of being word. Simple sentences are sentences that have both a subject and a verb, even though they might be a little short. So he paints posters. He is the subject. He's doing the painting, and the object that he's painting is a poster. The man ate cream cake. The man is our subject. He's doing the action of eating, and what he is eating is there, a cream cake. I hope not the whole thing. So the 2 sentences we just looked at are called simple sentences. They are also known as independent clauses. An independent clause is something that has a subject and a predicate and can stand on its own because it's a complete thought. So here we have some examples. The exam was difficult, has the subject and the predicate, and the man from the shop knows my secret. Subject is man. Has a few other words there describing the man, and then knows is the verb, and my secret plus knows, that makes up the predicate. You really need to know those terms as much of the predicate, but you do need to know subject and verb. And also, I don't have my students memorize too many grammatical terms, but independent clause is something that is going to come around later in our next lecture, so I would like you to try to remember that phrase. We've talked about it already as well. So what exactly is a fragment? Well, I have this picture here of an ancient manuscript, and you can see it's kind of broken apart, right? That's basically what a fragment is. It means that a piece is missing, or it's just a piece of something. It's not part of the whole. A fragment is a piece of a sentence. It's also known as an incomplete sentence. So like this scroll here, this old ancient manuscript, it's not complete. It's not all put together. And because of that, unlike a simple sentence, it's missing something. Could be missing a subject, could be missing a verb, and sometimes it could be missing both. So we're going to take a look at all 3 of those and see how that becomes confusing when you're looking at writing. Sometimes people have problems finding fragments because we often speak in fragments. For example, these 2 people. Want a beer? Nope, don't drink. Both of these sentences, want a beer and don't drink, are missing a subject. We have want, a verb. We have don't drink, which is our complete verb phrase. Really, drink is the verb there. But the difference is that when we talk, we don't really need to add those things because the other person is kind of filling in with their body language and their expression and other things like that. They kind of fill in, do you want? The do you is implied. And here, I don't drink. The I is implied. But in writing, it is a little bit different. So some fragments that we might see in complete sentences are missing a subject. There's our missing subject. All of these are going to be missing the person, place, thing, or idea that's doing the action. Was running, drove past the theater, to go, flew away, just chillin', make compromises, sacrificed a lot. So here I have the verbs in red, so you can kind of see those. But because of the missing piece, these sentences are not complete. And there are a ton of unanswered questions. Who was running? What flew away? Who needs to make compromises? When you have an incomplete sentence, that's what happens in your reader's brain. They're like, wait, what? What's going on? And then your message isn't as clear. So let's add a subject. Our missing subject is now found. So we're going to add the person, place, thing, or idea, doing or being the action. And sometimes the verb was not complete. So we have to add more of the action as well. So instead of just was running, now we have our subject, Kayla. Kayla was running. Answers that question for us of who. Azan and Nicole drove past the theater. Azan and Nicole are our compound subject. Means two people are doing the same thing together. It was time to go. It is our subject. The seagulls flew away. Seagulls is our added subject. Kyle was just chillin'. Couples have to make compromises. Jose sacrificed a lot. So now all of our questions are answered. But I will say this, these are not the most interesting sentences. And sometimes you might want to add a little bit more to add some detail or to make your idea even more clear. So let's add more. Because in real life, that's how it works, right? Not just for taking an English test. So was running because came Kayla was running. And now we have the added words. Kayla was running away from her stalker. A lot more interesting sentence. Flew away became the seagulls flew away. And then we have a lot added here. When David skipped a stone over the water, the white and gray seagulls squawked and flew away. So we have, if you remember from before, a dependent clause when David skipped a stone over the water. And then we added a little bit of description about the seagulls. And we added that they squawked before they flew off. And we had a typo with squawked that I just fixed. It's very difficult to proofread a thing on grammar where half of the things that you're doing are incorrect. So, but apologies for that. Make compromises. The couples have to make compromises. Married couples have to make compromises to have a happy marriage. So all of these now we have quite a bit of added detail and our sentences are a lot more interesting. But if you just needed to fix it simply, you can, and you can just add that subject in. So some fragments are missing a verb. Let's talk more action. The verb is that action or state of being word. The blue house, there we have that subject in blue, highlighted in blue, but we don't have a verb. Two very different cultures. Margot, Margaret, Mary, and Michelle is a tongue twister. I'm not sure why I put that in there, but I did. A dog, two cats, and a bird. A beautiful woman with curly black hair, kind eyes, and a warm smile. Now, I put the last one in there because a lot of times students think, or they'll say to me that an incomplete sentence is a short sentence. But if you remember from the beginning, he eats was a complete sentence. She swims. I go to the store. All of those are complete sentences, but they're short. This one is long, but it only has that subject. The beautiful woman is not doing or being anything here. So because of the missing pieces, these are not complete, and as before, there are unanswered questions. So let's add the verb, the action or state of being word. The blue house was on fire. I forgot I had that picture in there. This is a controlled fire. This little girl did not set the fire, but it's just a funny picture to me. Two very different cultures may have some similarities. So that may have some similarities is our added predicate, and have is the verb. Margot, Margaret, Mary, and Michelle are sisters. A dog, two cats, and a bird shared a pizza. A beautiful woman with curly black hair, kind eyes, and a warm smile walked through the garden. So all the verbs there are added in red, and our questions are answered. But as before, we could add more. As long as we have the verb added in, we have corrected this error. In real life, we want more details. So the blue house was on fire. The blue house was on fire for over 3 hours and burned completely. Two very different cultures. Two very different cultures may have some similarities, such as food or family rituals. I think I cut the middle one out just for space, but you can see that added piece helps give detail to the sentence. I meant to underline that. Margot, Margaret, Mary, and Michelle are sisters becomes Margot, Margaret, Mary, and Michelle are sisters, but they don't get along. So here we have that conjunction word in the second simple sentence. Now, if you remember from sentence structures, we have turned this sentence into a compound sentence. If you don't remember, that's okay, but I just thought I'd repeat it anyhow. Okay, so let's review. A fragment is a group of words that begins with a capital letter and ends with a period, so it looks like a sentence, but it's not complete. We may be missing a subject or a verb. Comes to the country house is missing a subject. Frampton comes to the country house. Talks to Vera. He talks to Vera. Is Vera's aunt. Mrs. Sappleton is Vera's aunt. So all of those, we added a subject. Vera about her uncle is missing a verb, and here the verb talks is added. So when you're looking at the fragment, if I've said to you when we're doing this in practice in our first drafts, does the sentence contain a subject? If it does not, then it's a fragment and you need to add a subject. Does the subject contain a verb? If it does not, then the sentence is a fragment and we need to add a verb. Next time, we're going to talk about a different type of fragment, which is called a dependent clause. And if you remember today, we looked at independent clauses. So I'm turning our fragments into independent clauses for the most part. Later, we're going to look at sentences in pairs and short paragraphs to learn how to fix these errors in context. So what does it look like in real life? If it's in my paper or in a business document, how do I identify it? And then we're going to do the same with authentic materials. So we have a couple excerpts from books that have fragments, a movie quote, and I think a cover letter. So I think that'll be pretty interesting, and we will look at those soon. Thanks, everybody. If you have questions, just leave them in the comments.